All right, let's talk about virtual reality. Today we're going to step right through the screen and into what feels like another dimension. But what is this technology really? You know, the one that seems like it was pulled straight from a sci-fi novel. Well, let's find out.
See, at its core, VR isn't just about cool graphics on a screen. It's a simulated experience, one that's designed to make you feel like you are literally entering another dimension. And that idea, creating a whole other believable world, that's the key to why this tech is so incredibly powerful. So how exactly is this other dimension built? I mean, what are the essential ingredients that make it all work? Turns out the whole experience really rests on three big ideas.
Yeah, these three pillars are basically the recipe for making you believe. First up, you've got immersion, which is all about tricking your senses, making your brain accept that this virtual space is real. Then comes interaction, which lets you actually reach out, touch, and change that world. And finally, you have imagination. And this is the magic ingredient, right? It lets us create worlds that could never, ever exist in our reality.
Now, you've probably heard the term VR thrown around a lot, and it often gets mixed up with its tech cousins. So let's take a second and clear things up. We're going to map out exactly where VR fits in with all these other emerging realities. The main difference is actually pretty simple. VR replaces your world. You put on that headset and boom, you are somewhere else completely. Augmented reality, or AR, on the other hand, adds to your world. Think about those mobile games where characters pop up in your living room through your phone's camera. So VR replaces, AR enhances. That's the key. And just to complete the picture, if you ever hear someone talk about extended reality, or XR, just think of it as the big family name. It's the umbrella term that covers VR, AR, and pretty much everything in between. It's the whole shebang.
Okay, so we know what VR is supposed to feel like. But how does the technology actually pull it off? How do we open this portal to another dimension? Well, it all comes down to a really slick combination of hardware and some seriously clever software.
It all starts with the hardware, right? These headsets, there are windows to these new worlds. Devices like the Oculus Quest, the PlayStation VR, the HTC Vive, these are the physical gateways. They block out the real world so that the virtual one can take over your eyes and ears.
But here's the thing, a headset is really just a fancy window. The real magic, the stuff that makes you feel like you're truly there, that's all in the software. Specifically, it's the tracking software that's watching your body and translating every little move you make into that virtual space. Let's break down how that works, using an early system called Point Finder as an example. First, the system has to figure out where you are and separate you from the background. Then, it locks onto your body and starts tracking your motion, every turn of your head, every time you reach out your hand. And finally, here's the critical part. It instantly translates those physical movements into the virtual world. When you move, your avatar moves. Simple as that.
And the tech is getting so much more detailed. I mean, advanced algorithms are now making real-time face tracking possible. Just imagine that, your actual facial expressions, a smile, a surprise look, showing up on your digital avatar in an instant. That's the level of detail we're talking about now. It's incredible.
Okay, so the tech is awesome, no doubt. But what's it all for? I mean, yeah, gaming is a huge part of it, but the real story of VR is how it's starting to completely reshape major industries and solve some really big, real-world problems.
The impact is it's huge. In healthcare, VR can be used to calm a patient's anxiety before surgery, or it can let a surgeon practice a super complex operation in a totally risk-free space. Businesses are using it to build and test virtual products, saving millions. And in education, you can learn about ancient Rome not by reading a book, but by actually walking its streets.
And hey, if you're ever wondering if this is a serious thing, just follow the money. A projected investment of 15.5 times billion euros. That tells you this isn't some niche hobby. This is being treated as a foundational technology for our future.
And this chart from 2020 shows exactly where that money was going. I mean, just look at it. Training and industrial maintenance made up more than half the market. That proves that businesses and industry have been huge drivers for this tech, in many cases even bigger than the consumer gaming world.
And all that investment is definitely being met with a lot of public curiosity. As you can see from this graph, the number of people who are interested in maybe owning a VR device is pretty significant. It's bigger than the group that's not interested. So the tech is clearly making its way from the factory floor and into our homes. So the growth is definitely there, but the technology is still a work in progress. So where's it all going? Let's take a look at the challenges being solved right now and what that next virtual frontier might actually look like.
You know, there are still some hurdles to get over.
The experience needs to be totally seamless, and that means solving things like motion sickness. Developers are also working like crazy to cut all the cords for a truly free wireless experience, and of course the big one, making the technology cheap enough for everybody to get their hands on it.
The path forward looks kind of like this. Right now, the big push is all about those truly wireless headsets. Coming up soon, 5G integration is going to let us stream these incredibly rich, high-def worlds with basically zero lag. And the end game? Full-on AI integration, creating virtual worlds that aren't just immersive, but are actually intelligent and can react to you.
And that path leads to a pretty wild concept, inverse virtual reality, or IVR. This is where AI and VR completely merge to create what's called an intelligence-driven, mutually mirrored world. To put it simply, imagine a perfect virtual copy of our world that is constantly learning and evolving right alongside the real thing.
Which brings us to our final thought here. We started this journey talking about VR as another dimension, a replacement for our reality. But as it gets more realistic, more intelligent, and more tangled up with our physical world, that line starts to get really blurry, and it leaves us with a pretty big question. What will reality truly mean?